Okay, I should be live in various places. I'm gonna test this. That popped up. Of course it didn't. Why does my chatting program always not work properly? Oh hey, people joined on TikTok. Okay, did that come through? Why is social stream not? Thanks, Cats. I can't see the rest of your name. I'm trying to get my chat working. This program that I use for making sure that my chat actually shows up is terrible for, like, never working properly. Okay. Okay, so it's got me logged in there. Let's just make sure that I'm still signed in to YouTube. Okay. Close this window after signing in. Okay. You know what? I'm just gonna keep that window there. Keep this window here. Hey Mitch. Hey Paul. Should be the right one. Okay, well, maybe... Oh, right. I've got the option of putting chat right there. And that one's not working here. Well, we'll see if at some point... I've got manual chat windows open for TikTok and at least one other place, and I don't feel like futzing around with things. Okay. Who am I gonna play as? I'm gonna be Mario. Thanks, and thanks for liking the chat. I appreciate that. Wait, did I pick 150cc? I did, right? Grand Prix. Oh, it doesn't ask me. When does it ask me what speed I'm? Oh, there it does. So how's everyone doing today? Oh, I didn't get the boost there. I'm glad your kids enjoy visiting you to play Mario Kart. I wish my mom enjoyed playing Mario Kart. I only ever really played video games with my parents once. Well, my parent. My dad at one point played through The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. And we had a really good time. I kind of showed him how to play the game, told him how to do everything, resisted taking the urge to grab the controller and just do it for him. Sometimes I wonder how much of that was him actually not realizing how to play the game and how much of it was him just wanting to include me. Yeah. Almost 70 and still plays. You know what? If I would have gotten my dad a shooter or something like that, he probably would have played it. He was, he's pretty big into, like, military stuff and whatnot. Not in, like, the warmongering stuff, but just in, like, finds the strategy of military stuff fascinating. So he might have even enjoyed those Tom Clancy games.
Grace Eleanor says hello, bro. Grace Eleanor says what's up.
Hey. I'm not sure where that sound is coming from. Give me just 1 second. Is that... That's not on here. That's not from there. Is that from, like... Is that from Twitch? Let me just... Oh, hey! Okay, yeah, no, somebody is on... Oh, hey, and now the comment just came up. Hey, how's it going? Wow, that's... Okay, why is TikTok not going in there? Ah! I hate my streaming... Okay, wait. Connection.
Grace Eleanor says, what's going on? Everything going good?
Yeah, things are going good. I'm just gonna turn down the volume of... I think I'm gonna turn down the volume of that. How can I turn... This is so annoying. Oh wait, you know what? I can just turn down the volume on my computer. That works.
Grace Eleanor says amazing.
Anyway, how are you doing, Grace?
Grace Eleanor says, do you play any other games besides this?
Yeah, I've thought about playing like some JRPGs on stream. I tend to be a sucker for both first-party Nintendo games, but not all of them necessarily, but a lot of them. So like Mario Kart, Smash Bros, stuff like that. But then also like a lot of, like, I love turn-based JRPGs. I did stream a little bit of the DLC. Well, actually, I streamed all of the DLC of Sea of Stars. I don't know if you've played that. It's by Sabotage Studios out of Montreal.
Grace Eleanor says, I am fine.
And yeah, but so yeah, I don't play any shooters. I don't like games that you can't actually see your character. For some reason, it always makes me feel like I'm gonna trip when I can't see my toes. What did I ask for third? But yeah. Oh hey, Falls is joined on TikTok. And why is my streaming thing... Wait. Maybe... Stop the source before activating with the new mode. Whatever. I swear, I always think that, like, I've finally gotten Social Stream Ninja to work properly, and then it turns out that I didn't. But I'm glad that it's at least working for Twitch. Streaming software is hard, and none of it works right. Like, I'm a big nerd. This shouldn't be this hard to make work. Yeah, as far as why I'm still playing Mario Kart World, I haven't actually played it that much. I played it on stream for a few days and then just the last few days I've been pretty busy while also accomplishing very little. And so I wanted to spend some more time playing it, since I did spend a whole bunch of money that maybe I should or should not have on a Switch too. Though I am now feeling more confident. Hey Danny, how are you doing? My Twitch handle should be the same as on YouTube and on TikTok. It's always just the saltiest chicken. I think I did make an Instagram account that I don't really use much that is like the salty chicken, but for the most part it's always just the saltiest chicken. And if you go to thesaltiestchicken.com, you can find links. Because I understand that discoverability can be a pain in the ass. Hi Nathan Penner, how are you doing? Always nice to have an obvious Mennonite in the room.
Nathan Penner says doing this.
That's good. I am from Manitoba. So, as soon as I see the last name Penner, or any Mennonite last name, I go back to this one time in Bible college when the Old Testament professor was taking roll call. And I'm not a Mennonite, but I kind of knew that there's just a couple last names, and you know.
I knew it in Winnipeg too.
Nice. Yeah, so the professor starts doing the roll call, and every time he got to a Mennonite last name, you'd get the first name, and then the second name, and then by the third name, people would start giggling, and I think it was there were the most rhymers in the class versus any other last name, so I think they had 9 or 11, and so by the time he got to the last one of those, everyone was just kind of on the floor giggling. And yeah, you wouldn't think that just listing off people's names could be that funny, but it can be. Oh hey, Social Stream finally started putting
Nathan Penner says my family is from Steinbach, but I live in Winnipeg.
Oh, Steinbach. I actually went to Steinbach's first Pride Parade. It was.
How goes it?
I'm doing good, Cody. Yeah, the first Pride Parade in Steinbach was interesting. I went with a few of my friends from college, and it was kind of surreal. I was actually pretty impressed because there weren't a whole lot of people out protesting or something, and somebody told me that a lot of the local pastors had basically told their congregations
Hi again. Danny says, that's cool. Our Pride event lasted until September and not going
yeah, so they, I'm gonna go into the off-road. I should pay attention more. But yeah, apparently the local pastors have basically told everyone to just like grin and bear it, like they'll be here for a day and then the heathen will be gone. Which, you know, was honestly a better strategy than I kind of would have expected. Yeah, I can't imagine growing up in Steinbach. I mean, growing up in Winnipeg in the 90s was bad enough. Yeah, well, I mean, especially for Mennonites, since you've got the whole pacifism and the whole, like, don't just be aggressive. Though I've known a lot of Mennonites who were pretty comfortable with aggression when it came to queer stuff, but... Nice. I kind of wish that I lived on the west... Oh my god. I wish I lived out on the west coast. At one point, I'd kind of thought... Nice. I thought of moving to the west coast, but then, you know, BC started catching on fire all the time, and so I was like, oh no, maybe I wouldn't want to go to the west coast. But now Manitoba is catching on fire all the time, so I don't know that there's going to be a place in the world that you can really have a consistently good summer like we used to. I'm kind of wondering if there is, like, any geohacking that could be done that would, like... I've been wondering lately about the feasibility about, like, irrigating forests. Though I suspect that the material costs would be pretty impractical. Nice! Nice. Yeah, I honestly, for Pride, I wish that, like, I was small enough to, like, buy lots of cool merch to wear and stuff like that. But a lot of it, they don't really make it in my size.
Have you seen Patty Hodges' stuff at Disneyland? Tired of this government not to pin disabled rights?
No, if you've got any links for that, feel free to send me a message, with it. I would certainly be interested in covering that. I definitely... I can understand where, like, this government kind of... Yeah, this government seems to really think that they were elected on the idea of making Canada's economy strong, and they want to prioritize that.
If you want to deal with forest fires, you have to do controlled runs in early spring, late winter.
I think I've heard that before, and that sounds right. But that would require provinces to actually plan for things like that and pay for people to do that, and it's much easier to just not do any of that and then be like, it's an emergency, now we need to do it, because, oh my goodness, there's so many things in society where we know the things that we need to do to prevent problems, but they cost money, and it's hard. Like, you have to pay political capital to actually pass laws that do things to address them.
Cody says, controlled runs are important, but also investment in other energy resources besides oil and gas.
Yeah, I would love for investment in things that aren't oil and gas, but the renewable energy industry just does not bribe Danielle Sith enough, so we can't have nice things. Oh, I wonder if Carney just, like, sat down with Danielle and was like, here, I will write you a big check to just shut up for the next 4 years. I wonder if that would work. I kind of don't think so, because I think in addition to being bought and paid for, there's also the I like attention of it all. Ooh, I'm a Dune Rider Mario now.
Nathan Penner says yes, that Joel will find a different power supply than lithium.
Yeah, well, I think I read something about, was it sodium batteries that they're experimenting with? The technology's not there yet, but, I think salt was one of those things that...
I go back and forth between Smith. No one sure who's the worst player.
Oh, definitely, definitely Smith. Like, don't get... Oh, man. Don't get me wrong, I don't like any of them. And you could argue Mo, because he's the best at actually doing awful things while staying out of the limelight, and that is a really important skill for, you know, eroding democracy. But, like, don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of Ford at all. But I don't want to say that he doesn't want to, like, burn down the province, because he's okay with burning down the province. But he wants to pretend. I would be more than happy with that, especially if the rocket just has some issues. But yeah, like Doug, I think Doug at least sees himself as wanting to maintain some sense of stability. Whereas I don't think Danielle cares about that. Like, Danielle is really the closest to someone like Ron DeSantis or something like that, where, like, they thrive off of the chaos and they're very okay with people having poor opinions of them. Like, I think Danielle actually enjoys being hated. I think Doug doesn't mind being hated, but he'd like to be liked by he wants to at least appear reasonable. And it's tough, because, like, when ranking narcissists, like, they're all bad. Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, that would be my preferred thing, because if they go to space and it's okay, then they might come back. But yeah, no, with narcissists, like, they're not all this. I don't know why I sent that forward. They're not all the same. Like, there's certain things that, yeah, they're definitely, like, linked behavior patterns and stuff like that. But what motivates them is a little different, and, like, how they see themselves. Like, I think Ford sees himself as playing some of these industry groups that pay him off and stuff like that, whereas I think Danielle...
I'll see you around.
Okay, yeah, see you later. I think someone like Danielle is actually... She doesn't even want to be liked by the majority. Like, she just wants power. She's a bit more Machiavellian than Ford is. I'll say that. Oh, that was great. I'm not doing well right now. Ooh. Ooh, I got a new follower out of this. That's nice. And I got silver.
Hickory 132 says, "What's up, how world?"
World is fun. I'm enjoying it. I haven't played it the last few days. I've been a wee bit busy. Actually, ooh, there we go. Let's move that in so that people can actually see comments that ooh, I've unlocked a new vehicle. And
Hickory 132 says, "In working on freeze-tearing everything and its top."
yeah, I'm just trying to unlock mirror mode. Ooh, the hyper pipe. That sounds like innuendo. Yeah, I'm just, I've heard that you need to get 3 stars in 150, or not 3 stars, you need to place in 150 on all of the cups. And then you need to do a bunch of P-switch missions and find peach coins. And I'm pretty sure that Grand Prix will be more interesting to watch on stream than hunting for peach coins and doing P-switches. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'm just going to leave Special Cup for... great. That turn, it gets me. Well, not every time, but a lot of times.
Cody says, "Do you have any advice for those interested in YouTubing or streaming?"
I don't know. I don't even know if I'm that good at VTubing or streaming.
Hickory 132 says, "Maybe it's first every crop. I have one cut that silver." I watched a video from Nintendo Life that said that you have to have, I think it's like 40 P things and peach coins, but then after you've met all of the requirements, you then need to go and place in Special Cup on 150. So it might just be that you haven't redone Special Cup on 150. But Nintendo Life, they have, I think they've got articles as well as a video that explains everything, so you can reference them for the for sure answer. Oh wow, how am I in first? That won't last. But yeah, in terms of like... 132 says, "Oh, I haven't
since I finished placing in some other cups after special.
Yeah, give it a try. But yeah, in terms of like advice for
Livery 132 says, somehow I did special cut 3-star first try.
nice. I managed to get first on Rainbow Road the first time I tried, but I think I did it on 100. Not sure. But yeah, in terms of advice for VTubing, I mean, figure out what you're gonna look like, I guess. You know, get a model that fits right for you. Keep in mind that there's some people who, like, they will see a cartoon and they will like it more. But then there's other people who, like, if they don't see a human face, they are not listening. The nice part is, it seems like really, really awful people do not pay attention to VTubers as much. I mean, like, maybe if your avatar is like a busty woman, or just if you sound like a woman. But I've honestly gotten more hate from other content creators than like just random psychos, which does not seem to be the norm. But not that I've gotten tons of hate from other content creators, but just like I really haven't had the plethora of weird statements. So part of that also might just be that people can hear me and like they can tell pretty easily that that won't get a rise out of me.
Cody says, haven't played Mario Kart since the Wii.
Yeah, 8 and 8 Deluxe were great games. I actually don't like Mario Kart Wii, though I really only played it once at a friend's house, and I also tried using the Wii wheel, and that was terrible. But I did not enjoy Mario Kart Wii, and also, to me, compared to like 8 Deluxe, or even Double Dash, not that I've ever even played Double Dash, but to me, Mario Kart Wii is just... Nintendo kind of had like this kind of like ugly, muddy phase on the Wii, like Twilight Princess, Smash Bros. Brawl. They were just... I think probably part of it was that they got so much flack for Wind Waker that just everything, even if it was cartoony, needed to be dark and gritty. And I just don't like the look of Mario Kart Wii. I think it looks terrible. But 8 Deluxe is gorgeous. And then Mario Kart World looks even better. Mario Kart World, it's kind of funny because the art style is very similar to 8 Deluxe. I could almost see them bringing in a lot of the 8 Deluxe courses as DLC. And just like reworking them in the engine a bit, but even like using some of the assets, whatever. But I will say that the animations in World are just like really next level. The characters are all so expressive in just little ways that you don't really think about when you're watching the footage. And then like the world actually, like in 8 Deluxe, a lot of the lighting engine is kind of like hard baked, so it's not necessarily as dynamic. It looks great, but with World, everything actually is being lit with an engine, and so it honestly ends up making the game look a lot more dynamic. Like with 8 Deluxe, you play a track and then you've played that track. The track is never going to look any different. It's always going to look the same. Even when they did Sunset Wilds as DLC, they weren't even able to do its original gimmick because the lighting engine did not allow for that. Whereas in this game, the lighting engine really lets them play around. When the shot goes off, you actually get lightning, or you get like water effects and oh hey, I didn't get hit by the blue shell. Sweet. That was dumb of me. Oh, this is the part that I thought of. Oh! Haha! Oh my goodness. I thought I was going to be going off. I love wall riding. Oh, if only just because it saves me from getting hit by Lakitu when I bump. Wall riding's fun. Thank you for the emojis that my computer couldn't actually phrase. Mothon? I don't know if I pronounced your name right. Oh. Somebody sent me a text.
In a very quiet chat.
Yeah, I find if I play video games that people talk a little bit less. Some people just want to sit around and play games. I am actually enjoying this new thing where the computer is speaking messages. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I'm kind of hoping that you can. But my audio for this is a little screwy. And like initially chat wasn't working properly. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. But I like this because yeah, I like it. It means that I don't have to read chat while playing a racing game, which is nice. Yeah, when there is something to watch, then it means that I don't necessarily have to talk as much. And I'm trying to kind of use streaming as a way to see how much better my voice and my throat muscles are getting. I've got one theory as to what was wrong, which would have been nice if a doctor would have actually suggested anything like this, but I think I started using a mattress topper because the mattress that I had was old and it was not how do you say it just my back was getting really sore, so I would use this mattress topper and it really helped with my back and stuff, but I noticed that it was at night kind of pushing my head forward, and so I noticed that when I was going to bed lately, I was noticing that sometimes it kind of felt a little bit like I was being choked almost, which is not a fun sensation to have while sleeping. And so I tried getting rid of the mattress topper, and sure enough, I've been feeling better. I'm still having some issues with my throat muscles feeling raw, but it's certainly better than it had been. I was supposed to get a massage today, but my masseuse kind of last minute let me know that his boyfriend was sick, and so I was like, okay, well, thank you for letting me know, but I definitely do not want to, spend a bunch of time at your place getting massaged if there's a possibility that I might be contracting a respiratory
Cody says, glad you're
issue.
feeling better.
Well, I'm feeling better than I was. I don't know that I'm necessarily feeling better, but better than I was for sure. And so I'm hoping that, because like, and I still do get like these weird kind of sensations in like around my jaw, my neck, and kind of like around the collarbone that are not normal, and I never had them before in my life, really. So I've got a massage booked with a different masseuse, just because I have no idea when the one that I was going to use is, oh, shoot, I thought I still had the ghost. Because the ghost makes you not affected by
Marcus
throat.
says, I'm not very familiar with voice care. Does it help one's voice to improve through regular low-intensity speaking?
That's what I've read online, that you shouldn't you shouldn't flat out avoid.
Who's your surgeon? Cody says, closet my cerebral palsy I deal with chronic pain all the time. Not fun.
Yeah, I don't have a surgeon for voice issues. I did go see an ear, nose, and throat doctor who didn't know why anything was wrong with me, and I think might have thought nothing was wrong with me. Or, well, actually, he flat out said, like, oh, nothing's wrong with you. And I think he might have thought that I was fibbing. And so, like, at one point, I told him, like, just so we're clear, I already have a doctor's note saying that I, can be off work until, I think it's like November or something. So this isn't me trying, like, to defraud EI or anything like that. Like, if I wanted to, I could already do that. Like, I have a real issue. Please help me get better. But I think part of the problem was just, like, you only get so much time for an appointment, and he just kind of wanted me gone because he wasn't getting paid for the time anymore. So, yay, healthcare. But, yeah, I'm sorry that you have to deal with chronic pain, Cody. I know my mom has really bad chronic pain, and it is, it's terrible. Yeah, exactly. I remember, not this last March, but the one before, I had really badly injured my knee. I had a bone contusion, which is apparently, like, you can bruise the actual bone itself, which means that you're, like, bleeding into yourself. And that was both very painful, and it was tough because my doctor, he, like, does not want to necessarily prescribe any pain meds, which is fine. Like, I don't really want to get addicted to anything anyway. But thankfully, there was some stuff that I had that normally I use for relieving migraines, and that is also a really good painkiller. And it's not the sort of thing that you can use every day, but for periodic relief of pain, it is very good. shoot, I wanted to go on that. It's kind of funny with this game. There's certain things.
How are you enjoying the Switch 2?
I'm loving it. And I'm about to fall off a waterfall. Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the Switch 2. I mean, this is the only game that I didn't already have on the Switch. Seriously, Lakitu? This is the only game that I didn't have on the Switch 1. I don't know if I'll be getting many other Switch 2 exclusives until, like, I'm sure I'll be able to go back to work, or if I have a different job sorted out. But the Switch 2 was kind of one of those things that I knew I was gonna want regardless, and I don't know. I'm not yet poor enough that I can justify not buying something that I'm gonna eventually want at some point over the next 8 years, and that I don't anticipate the price is gonna go down on. So
Cody says, has anyone told you your model reminds me of Face?
of Face? Who is Face?
Linda Stuff says, yeah, I get the one in the good financial spot, but I had so many years of finance woes.
Yeah, I am fortunate that around the pandemic, I'd I'd moved back in with my parents while paying off student debt after trying to make a go of it in a second ministry training program that I should not have gone in for, because, oh my goodness, that was not good for my mental health in any stretch.
Jasper Collin 1999 says, best viewers on SBFHFHI.
Is that a bot? I gotta figure out how to ban bots.
Moffat says, I think so.
I watched one YouTube video about like ways to make your Twitch stream better and stuff like that. And I followed some of their instructions that were supposed to kind of help keep bots out and stuff like that, but if eventually I get more mods...
Face was the mascot for Nick Jr. back in the day.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna look this up. Nick Jr. Face. Oh! Yeah, you know, I should... One of these days, I'm gonna post some footage of, like, the early versions of the chicken. Before... because there's at least one point where there actually is no chicken-y features, and it's just like a face, and yeah, I should one of these days I should do that. Though, man, I have had the last few videos that I have posted have not done that well.
The only face I know is face from the 18.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I'll say, like, once I get 10,000 followers, then I will post some of the footage from when I was starting to make the puppet. There's a few gooders. Yeah, well, that was so I moved back in with my parents. I managed to pay off 17 grand of debt because, you know, I wasn't paying rent, and initially I wasn't even working an especially great job, but they didn't charge me rent because they wanted me to pay off my debt and they didn't need me to pay rent. Not that they're like super well off by any stretch, but they could afford to not make me pay rent.
I wish I was in a better financial position than I am. Bottom of systemic poverty is.
Indeed. But yeah, so with that, I managed to save some money, and I invested it, and then eventually my parents did sell their house, so I had to get an apartment. Ironically, we got 2 apartments that are very close to each other. But it ended up just being that, like, this building was a better deal than most others, so did I place second? Oh, whatever. But yeah, so I was able to invest some money, not a lot, but I had some money saved up after I'd finished paying off all my debts, and then after the house was sold, my parents gave me some as kind of like an early inheritance, and I asked a buddy of mine who is now a pastor, but he had been a business major when we were in college, and I'm gonna be Fancy Yoshi. What the? I don't even care if the stats on this are good. I'm just gonna drive this one.
James Rutten says, hey dude, love your videos. Sorry there is so much overlap between narcissists and politicians.
No need to be sorry. Thank you for loving my content. I honestly,
James Rutten says, that you found yourself a political commentator.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't love politics, but at the same time, like, people hate and distrust politicians, and it turns out that it's actually a really good way to educate people on narcissism, because people are already suspicious of politicians, and so when you explain why they're naturally suspicious, I think some people listen. I think a lot of people just think of me as a political commentator, and yeah, whatever. You can't necessarily always control how people perceive you. Actually, man, there's one video that I haven't made lately. I think. Right. There's one video that I think I might make it tonight. Because I tend to, my brain likes to do work late at night. But there's one video that I wasn't sure if I was going to make, but I think I've kind of now decided I am going to make it. But part of it will end up being about how, like, trying to control how people think of you is a bit of a fool's errand. Like, you can certainly take care to try and make sure that you come off as good as possible.
Still says, yeah, I just saw your first voice issue with a few days ago. Before I thought you just appeared to see.
Yeah, no, I'm, it's tough because I don't necessarily just want to say the same thing over and over. I think maybe what I should do one of these days is actually do almost like a channel trailer type video. And like explain what makes me different from everybody else other than having a computer face. But, yeah, I want to talk at least, or there's a video that I want to make, and part of it is about just like being willing to acknowledge that sometimes in terms of like interpersonal conflict, especially if it's like in a group, you're in a no-win situation. Because I feel like a lot of people end up really stressing themselves out and wasting a lot of their kind of time and energy and like what they have to give the people in their life that they actually care about, and they end up wasting it on people who, like, there is no world where they're ever going to be happy or where you're ever going to be good enough for them. And so I want to kind of touch on that. I don't know if that'll actually come through in the video that gets made, because unfortunately on TikTok, if your video is too long, people tune out and then the algorithm punishes you. So there's often times that I could go on and on. I'm actually really surprised that my video talking about, like, I don't even know what you'd call it. I think of it like it's the perspective video that I just put up, where I talk about how, like, Path to Wear and Steve Boots both view C2 differently, and I'm not going to say that either is wrong, and they're both worth listening to. Which is not... I feel like in today's society, everybody wants to kind of have like a firm control on the beliefs of their audience. Like, they're okay with their audience liking certain other character or creators that they see themselves as aligned with. But then they'll like try and be possessive. Like, I don't necessarily think anyone in my kind of regular audience is probably going to be a big Jordan Peterson fan. If I found out anyone was, I would probably tell them, like, hey...
James Button says moral absolutism can be a dangerous game.
Right, exactly. It's... because I think what more people need to remember is, even if you do see yourself as very ideologically pure, and you're right, and everyone should listen to you, and maybe they should, you didn't start out that way.
James Button says no room for growth or nuance.
Right? Maybe you should make content, because some other people cannot handle it. It's frustrating because, like, people will be like, oh, well, why does the right manage to bring in more young people and blah, 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 which is not how it used to be. Like, for a long time, conservatism really only managed to appeal to old people and people on the spectrum. And not necessarily all people on the spectrum, but, like, a lot of your... And, like, honestly, even if you look at, like, the content creation area now, like, I think you'd be hard-pressed to argue that Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro and all these other people are not pretty far along on the spectrum. But these days now, like, you're getting a whole lot of fairly neurotypical, especially young men, finding that the right speaks to them well, which is weird because, like, young men are one of the groups that capitalism really loves to take advantage of. Like, yeah, you can make money in the trades, but you're also gonna, like, break your back, and it's not gonna be
James Walker says conservatism appeals to those in a position of relative comfort.
true, though it can also really appeal to people who just really prefer really binary thinking. It can also...
Stuff says, yeah, but it's also a group who loves to be pandered to.
Everybody loves to be pandered to. Speaking as one of the gays, we love being pandered to. And we also love complaining about rainbow capitalism. But then if you stop trying to make money off of us with t-shirts, we will be so mad at you. I need to make a video about that. But I think actually part of the issue about why young men are loving being pandered to right now is because they don't see themselves as being pandered to by leftist voices. But actually, oh man, I also want to make a video about just how weird the heterosexist dynamic between I was gonna say cis men and women, but like honestly, throw everybody in there, like and even throw in the non-binary people. Like there are just so many unhealthy assumptions that we're all conditioned to make about each other based on gender. Actually, one of these days I really want to make a video about this one time where I was working a job where I had to deal with the public a fair bit, and I posted something on Facebook, something along the lines of like, if I have to deal with one more, you know, entitled middle-aged white lady, and somebody who was a fairly reasonable friend of mine was like, yeah, but they're not nearly as bad as like uppity old guys. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, sure, I've had uppity old guy customers who were really annoying and whatnot, but like they're never as bad.
Yeah, my partner is at GM with a PhD in history. The amount of time he spends in about biases out. James Walton says that discomfort tolerance is a factor, I think. When people feel decentered, they get uncomfortable.
Fair. That is a very good point. But anyway, so I again, like their take on it was like, yeah, mean entitled older women, they can be bad, but they're nothing like mean entitled old men. And so I put a poll, because you could do polls on Facebook then, and most of my friends communicated by Facebook back then. This was a while ago. And, you know, I asked, like, hey, for you, those of you who have worked with the public and whatnot, your nightmare customers, have they been more male or female? And I noticed a really interesting thing that may actually not surprise some people, but may very well surprise some people. On average, most of my female friends felt that entitled, often older guys were the worst. On the flip side, most, but again, there were people who felt that their own gender that they identified with was the worst. And initially, I thought like, oh, people just interpret things differently, and, you know, or they have biases where the less like someone they are, the more rude they feel they're being, and their social, whatever. Then it occurred to me, people who are dumb and abusive and unkind are less nice to people that look and behave less like them. That was the conclusion that I drew. You can feel free to conclude something else. But I've kind of assumed that, and that's... Granted, like, I now have this bias, so maybe I'm just wrong. But that's borne out, like, oftentimes I love talking to little old ladies. Even if they're, like, a little snippy, I can often, like, win them over, especially if I turn up the gay a bit. You know, and whereas, like, if I'm dealing with an old guy who's being a little ridiculous, most of the time, all that I have to do, really, is just kind of lower my voice and talk a little slower and kind of look over the edge of my glasses at them, assuming that we're talking face to face, and eventually they calm down and they stop being ridiculous once they realize that they're not getting a rise. Whereas if I've got like a more entitled woman, if I do that, that often kind of inspires them to be even more ridiculous and, you know, think that I'm being disrespectful. And it's like, well, I'm not respecting you that much because you are behaving very disrespectfully, so it would be kind of weird for me to respect you more. Yeah. But it's, I feel like it's important to remember that there are awful people in...
Oh yeah, my workplace is a whole different thing. My husband notices when I'm in work mode.
Yeah. Well, and there's also, like, my work mode voice is actually... I had somebody who once, like, listened to me on a call with a customer once, and they were like, wow, you have one of the best customer service voices that I've ever seen. And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I do also, like, I use psychological trickery when I talk to customers. Like, I identify things, and one of the things that actually works really well for me is I actually look for signs of narcissism. Yes, everything with me goes back to narcissism. And when I get a narcissistic customer, I tend to go gray rock. And oftentimes, with people who have toxic behavior patterns and stuff, when they actually can tell that you don't like them, they actually then try and, like, win your love, which is funny. And so they'll often, like, really sweeten up when you kind of express a little... Exactly, yeah. Like, they'll... there's lots of times where, like, when I've worked tech support and stuff like that, you'll get people who... They're like, oh, how dare you let this happen to me, and stuff like that. And then I'll just be like, well, I didn't let it happen. Like, this is a problem that you're having. I believe that that's happening. But I've had nothing to do with it. I am the person who's, like, trying to help you. So I'd love it if you would let me help you. And sometimes you'll get somebody who, like, gets really mad when you say stuff like that. But oftentimes, you know, when you respond to that kind of aggression with, like, you're being ridiculous and I'm trying to help you and you're being a big baby, but, like, you don't say that, people actually respond really well. And then by the end of the call, they're always like, oh wow, you were so great, you're amazing, is there a way that I can get you again? And it's just like, no, you got lucky today, but bye.
James Rodney says, I am on your side. I am trying to help you. Please let me.
Yeah, exactly. And like learning how to say that effectively is a big part of just learning how to not have your time and your capacity for bullshit like just destroyed by abusive customers. Like you really, a big skill that anybody in that kind of line of work needs is just getting comfortable with politely telling people that they're being ridiculous. I'm doing so badly right now. I actually may...
James Rodney says, I understand this is frustrating, but you know I am great at the shopping, not me.
Oh man, one time I used to be an Airbnb case manager, and there was one time...
James Rodney says, I am just the only human tied to this you have access to.
I don't know if I'd ever say that to someone. That's great. I had this one woman who called in when I was an Airbnb case manager, and it sounds like there was... I can't remember if it was like... I think it was like she was contracted by a host to manage their property, and the host had really unrealistic expectations. She wanted some stuff related to getting the property owner their payout, but like the funds were being held for a certain amount of time because that was just a standard process to protect against fraud. But she called in, she was really hot. She honestly sounded a little bit like, oh, what's that comedian's name? Arden something or other. She's hilarious, but she sounded a lot like, I can't remember what Arden's last name is. If you know a female comedian whose first name is Arden, then you probably know who I'm talking about. But so she called in and she was very, very heated, wanted what she wanted, wasn't going to take no for an answer. And she was like, you don't understand, this guy's breathing down my neck and all this stuff. And I eventually said to her, like, no, I understand. But at the same time, I'm also not going to be your punching bag. So, like, I want to help you. I can try and help you. But we're not going to continue the call if you keep trying to use me as a punching bag. And immediately she was just like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be doing that. I was like, that's okay. So long as we can be better going forward, I am happy to help you. I'm good at my job. I will do everything that I can to help you, but I just need to not be attacked while at work.
James Rodney says, they want to yell at someone that there is no access to the actual decision maker. Boundaries.
Exactly. And also, like, people do not realize that, like, yelling at somebody may make you feel better temporarily, but, like, people leave notes on calls. And oftentimes, especially, like, if you do eventually get escalated to someone who can help you, they may go back and, well, they're definitely going to go back and review the notes. They may even go back and listen to the call. And so if you're being unreasonable, and especially if you're just being, like, vicious, that may kind of determine whether or not they want to just screw you over. And some people are comfortable with screwing people over, even if it's the wrong thing to do. I never was, but, yeah, there definitely have been times where I've worked certain jobs where I'll review case notes and a customer's asking for something, and I'll be like, well, you know, I would have, I don't tell the person that, but I end up thinking like, yeah, I would have helped this person, I could have, but this is it's my call sort of thing, and they seem to think that the way to handle things is by calling in and being mean. And if I acquiesce now, they're gonna learn all of the wrong lessons. I gotta stop trying to see how long the stream is. I'm noticing a bit of strain on the right side of my throat muscle, and I've only been talking for like an hour and 25 minutes.
I could not work customer service or support. I don't care if you will not make
Oh, there have been sometimes, especially like if I'm working for a company that isn't super, like, I've worked for some companies where like they want you to kind of stay within certain metrics, but they value customer service more than anything else. And in those cases, there have been times when I've spent like 2 hours with someone because like they're in psychological distress. And two things: if the company's grading me primarily on how happy people are after they talk to me, I'm not going to leave someone who's just in clinical depression with no resources. There's also times where it's just like, it's not the ethical thing to do to abandon someone. Like at one point, I had one person who called in for something, and she ended up talking about. She ended up kind of. It wasn't like the woe is me, pity me sort of thing, but there definitely was an element of, oh dang it, I had a mega mushroom. There was an element, yeah, like there was definitely an element of like, she does not want to still be alive. And so we talked about things for a little bit, and at one point, I basically, like, my goal was to try and convince her to go see a therapist, because she'd actually mentioned that, like, family members had wanted her to go see a therapist. They were willing to pay for it. Like, there were resources available, but she just didn't want to take advantage of them because she didn't think it would help. And the issue was that her husband had died, and, you know, life did not feel worth living anymore. She felt alone, she missed him all the time, and, like, none of this is super specific to this customer. I'm sure that you've known people like that, so I'm not giving any personal information about the customer. But, so we talked about it for a bit, and at one point she said something about God.
James Rodney says no. Confidentiality 100%.
Yeah, but so she said something about God, and well, actually, no. So what she'd said was, man, I'm just getting. She said something that basically let me know that she felt that if she was happy, that would somehow be a disservice to her husband's memory. Like, she wouldn't be honoring him properly if she let herself be happy. So she didn't even want to be happy anymore, because that would be being disloyal to his memory. And so I was like, was he the sort of person who wanted you happy? And then, oh yeah, and she told me some stories about, you know, some of the sweet things that he'd done for her and things like that. And I was like, okay, cool. So if he was that sort of person, then wouldn't honoring his memory be, like, wouldn't you do that better by doing what you could to become happy? Like, if I died and somebody loved me, I would want them, like, I'd appreciate it if they grieve and whatnot, but eventually I'd like them to just be happy. And so kind of asking her, it was no longer what she thinks she should do, it was what would he think you should do. And, you know, she wasn't going to say that he would want her to be miserable, because he wouldn't have, because he loved her. And so, like, by the end of the call, she was like, and I go way lack too. So by the end of the call, she was willing to let her kids pay for therapy for her, which I was happy about. I felt really good. Ooh, I've seen this one online. Okay, I'm not gonna try that one again for now. But yeah, and part of it was like, as we're talking, because she kept like,
James Rotten says, positive outcome A.
Yeah, and she'd said like, I don't know what she thought therapy was, but she definitely thought it was something other than what it was. And so eventually, I was like, well, like, keep in mind, therapy is basically what we've been doing, only you're talking to someone who's actually qualified. Yeah, I'm like, and so I told her, like, basically a good therapist, all that they do is they ask you questions, they listen to what you say, and they look at how you're thinking about things, and then they think of questions that they can ask to possibly help you think about things in a manner that is going to help you solve your problems. Exactly. And so it was kind of funny because, yeah, like, she basically got a free 2-hour therapy session from me. But again, I'm not qualified to be a therapist. I've just read a bunch of psych books and done a lot of work on myself. Yeah. I've had people tell me I should try being a life coach, to which I'm just like, well, that's not fun. I've just been like, why? Like, I'm not doing that great in life. I don't feel like anyone who can afford a life coach should be taking advice from me. Why did I just throw that? I don't know. I can't even hold on to a green shell. Why would anyone listen to me? Okay, well, thanks for popping by, and hope you get some good sleep, Ben. That's fair. I've thought of actually trying to be a therapist, but especially after doing ministry school, I looked into it, and it seems like most counseling courses are pretty subjective, and I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of spending a whole bunch of money to go back to school for a career that somebody else may be able to just short circuit because they don't like me. Because unfortunately, like, you may think that I'm super likable, and I like to think that I'm likable, but narcissists in particular, they instinctively hate me. Like, even just people with, like, narcissistic tendencies.
Sorry, what region of California?
I'm in the prairies. I'm in Manitoba. But, yeah, when I was in ministry, that was exhausting. Like, if you would have told me that, hey, telling the truth about a serial predator, that's going to end up with you, like, being blackballed and stuff like that.
I can see that. They hate people that can recognize them.
Well, they hate people that can recognize them, yeah, but I also have the problem that I'm not always good at recognizing when I'm supposed to be dishonest. Like, in any social group, there's often like a whole bunch of unwritten rules, and they're generally kind of stupid. They're, you know, like, just things that, like, I really don't. Like, expected scripts are boring, and I feel like expected scripts are disrespectful. Like, you can definitely argue that they're not, and most people... Okay, you have fun, Ben. But yeah, like, to me, trying to anticipate what someone wants me to say rather than just what I actually think feels weird. It feels dishonest, and I'm not comfortable with it. And so it often makes it...
They can't calculate that as a variable in their attempts at manipulation. It messes things up.
It really does. Also, like, I was in a situation recently where I thought I was just having a long conversation. It was online, but I thought I was having a just long conversation with a group of people. It turns out that I had taken a nuanced position on something that the group did not take a nuanced position on. And and I was basically like, oh, well, I can understand why you guys would think that way, but, like, if you're aware of, like, developmental psychology and stuff like that, you'd understand that, like, no, you probably want to have a different view. And, like, this is why I think how I think. And I wasn't necessarily telling anyone that they had to agree with me, but it was like, I have thoughts, would you like to hear them? And, like, it's also like, people can just not listen if they don't want to. Like, that's... People on the internet often seem to not really appreciate just the fact that they don't have to listen to what people say. In retrospect, like, after I found out that apparently a bunch of people were really pissed off at me, I looked back at the conversation and I was like, oh, that's why people kept telling stories that were kind of off topic. They were trying to win an argument with feelings, and I didn't know that we were having an argument. And it was very awkward. It's yeah, like I said, I'm not always just aware of when I'm not supposed to be honest. Because, like, most of the time, people will be like, oh, you're smart, I like your thoughts on things.
They expected confirmation of communally held opinion instead of a nuanced response.
Right, and then they felt the need to punish. And I don't like when people want to punish. It's awkward. I'm not big on punishing people. I can be big on like, hey, I don't want to talk to you if that's going to be the position that you're holding. Like, there's some things where I'll just be like, no, this is something that I draw a line in the sand on, and you know, if we're, I kept thinking the red or the blue shell was gonna hit them, but you know, like there's certain things like
James Rutten says enforcing social norms, seeing dissent as an attack on core self.
Exactly, and like I feel like part of the queer experience is just like getting comfortable with the fact that you're different from the bulk of people, and you just learn that if you're gonna be friends with people, there's gonna be things that you guys don't see the same way, and you know, you learn to appreciate that, and sometimes you're gonna find out that, why didn't I get hit there? Sometimes you're gonna find yourself like realizing that other people have a like really well thought out opinion, and there's just stuff that you didn't consider. But in a lot of cases, you know, just sometimes people look at things differently, and that needs to be okay. If that's not okay, then you're kind of cheating yourself out of having real and authentic relationships with people. And I prefer having real and authentic relationships with people, though not everyone prefers having real and authentic relationships with me. And that box. And that's okay, they don't have to. But if we're not going to, then I'm not gonna try and stay invested in a relationship where someone wants me to lie to them. Like, to me, that just feels weird.
James Rutten says again that low discomfort tolerance leads to an inability to consider external perspective.
Right? And, like, the worst part is, like, they actually would have probably made that criticism of me. I had, there were a number of people who kind of, like, they didn't really make an argument, but they, like, shared a story. And then eventually people started accusing me of like, not listening to women. And I was like, I read what you said. I don't know if you've read what I said, but, like, I don't disagree with anything that you said. And maybe because I didn't repeat back what they'd said, because, like, people often want you to repeat back what you said, but again, like, I didn't even realize we were in conflict. I thought we were just talking. Yeah, so then people, actually, I don't even think anyone was accusing me of not listening to women yet. They just kept saying that it's important to listen to women, and I was like, yeah, no, I some of the most important thinkers who, like, shaped my thoughts on this subject were women. Their names were Louise and Allison, and and I imagine a number of the authors that I read on the subjects also were women.
James Rutten says it happens with distressing frequency with neurodivergence. The need to have correct information.
Right. Yeah, ooh, good, I placed. I just, like, I don't think of myself as that autistic. I'm definitely ADHD. I think my dad probably qualifies as autistic. He used to, when my mom would go over for dates, he would stay in his bedroom and play Risk, and she would have tea with his mother. And that was their courting. I don't know if they necessarily use the word courting. Actually, I had good luck on this one. Okay, wait. I gotta go back and do this one. But, Yeah, I don't know, getting actually like tested for autism or something like that would be pretty low, and I don't even know
James
if
Rudden says, my dad definitely was. Train sets and classic cars. And back to little conspiracy theories.
I'm thankful that my dad doesn't really get into conspiracy theories or anything like that. He does. He watches too much YouTube, though thankfully he's at least, you know, pretty politically left. Though, like, when I tell him that Bernie Sanders...
James Rudden says, keep him away from the History Channel.
No, he, thankfully he also likes science fiction, and, we don't even really pay for, TV. I have a Plex server set up, and, I taught my parents how to download porn. I literally just tricked myself out of getting an item box, and I got in like 12th place or something. That's terrible. But yeah, no. He, my dad in general is just like a really great person. Just really, really nice and selfless, and yeah, definitely. It's actually really tough when I hear people like just kind of shit talk straight guys just universally, in part because, like, according to a lot of these people, like, I don't know what my dad is, but he's not a straight guy. According to them, and that's really frustrating. And like, I understand that, you know, it's often people feeling a need to blow off steam and stuff like that, but like, I don't think a lot of people realize that, like, when you're a boy, a lot of people do not know necessarily what it means to be a man. And so when you constantly have people saying, like, straight men are this, straight men are this, straight white men are this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not saying, like, don't acknowledge that there are awful straight white men, or that you've had bad experiences with them and stuff like that. But, it's always a good idea to, like, keep in mind who's listening. How much of what you hate about certain people do you want to go into?
James Rudden says, patriarchal masculinity puts guys in a box that most don't fit.
Exactly. And, like, I actually, someday I want to make a video about why I generally don't use the word patriarchy. Because, like, I tend to look at things more from the understanding that, like, power structures, like, yeah, a lot of the people who are making the worst decisions, that all of us have to deal with the consequences of, are definitely men. But, most men are not the ones making those decisions. And so, when you give a system a gender, it kind of assumes that people who are of that gender actually have meaningful control over it, which they don't. And in a lot of cases, it also encourages people to then have negative biases against people who could be their allies, but instead you take it out on people who they haven't actually meaningfully benefited from your oppression, and in most cases, if they could, they would prevent your oppression. But, like, if them preventing your oppression just results in you wanting to now rig the system against them, they're going to have to be real selfless to still want to kind of help you get control if it's pretty clear that your ideal of an ideal system is them experiencing the exact same oppression that you experience. And I'm not saying that necessarily, like, most feminist writers think that way or anything like that, but I've certainly run into more than a few people who, like, that's their takeaway from, like, the one feminism class that they had, or just, like, the one female comedian that they listened to. And I think people need to realize that, like, you don't fix oppression by just oppressing someone else. You help people learn that oppression is always bad, and then you can...
James Martin says the current imposed hierarchy hurts everyone. It isolates one and inhibits connection.
Exactly. And so the solution isn't to just continue to try and compound that isolation of men. Like, I remember reading one time while researching a paper that I was writing, this book that talked about the rate at which people choose to stop being people, become plant food. And I remember being shocked when I found out that it was 3 times higher for men than it was for women, and 3 times higher for queer women than it was for straight women, and 3 times higher for queer men than it was for straight men. And I don't think that the book actually had stats for trans people, but obviously I'm pretty sure their stats are going to be higher by, I mean, like, everybody, at least in the queer community, tends to realize that that is a major concern, and one of the reasons why gender affirming care is so necessary is because if you don't provide the care for the person, no matter what the person's convictions are, they might turn themselves into plant food. But it was really interesting to read that, because much of what we kind of get told is that, like, oh, being a guy is great, they don't have problems, and it's like, statistics seem to suggest that there do tend to be a number of men who, for various reasons, do not enjoy being alive as a man. And I think part of that is that, like, the expectations that we have of everybody are really kind of nuts, and we need to just let people be. And we need to stop telling people that they're bad or good for things that they had no control over and weren't even trying to do. Actually, if you look at one thing that, like, when I was in college, I kind of realized is one of the reasons why anti-gay political figures, preachers, etc. tend to...
James Martin says, we would like to be part of an extended family, part of a larger community.
Right? But one of the reasons that people where was I going? Oh yeah, okay. So one of the reasons why anti-gay, etc., preachers would target gays as presenting them as like horribly immoral, blah blah blah, is because people like being told that they're good without trying. And when you tell straight people that, like, at least you're not like those godless homosexuals, for some of them, that feels really good. Like, and especially if, like, you grew up in the evangelical or Catholic churches where, like, everything that you do is wrong, and you need to repent of everything, and you need to ask for forgiveness for everything. Being told that you're not as bad as... being told that you're not as bad as a certain group, and you didn't even have to try. You just, you know, liked the way that women looked. Okay, that's like when someone tells you that you've got really nice eyes or something like that. It's kind of like, okay, that's nice. I didn't really do anything to get these eyes. I was just kind of born with them. It's, you don't really know what to say to that. And, so what ends up happening, is you get a whole lot of people who generally don't feel great about themselves, feeling like they get to belong because they're not something that they were never going to be. And it takes less effort.
Andy Billy Joe says, I'm no longer asking for permission or forgiveness to be who I am.
Right? And nobody should have to. And nobody should have people, like, just assuming the... Like, it's one thing about, like, if you don't want to necessarily be alone with someone or something like that based on, like, certain things. Like, I'm not telling people, like, oh, there's someone who looks kind of scary, get in an elevator alone with them or be in a parking lot late at night, whatever. Like, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't... I probably profile people based on what they look more than almost anyone, because I'm always, if I'm, like, out of my apartment and I have to be around people, I am looking to try and figure out who looks like they might smell like perfume or cologne, and if they do, I am giving them... Right, and yeah, that's really messed up. And so, like, I'm not saying that, like, you shouldn't be aware that certain people pose a risk to you. And, like, honestly, one of the reasons why I do want to try and help people understand narcissism better is because I often hear, especially women, talk about just men in general as if we're all unsafe. And that's really frustrating because, like, you're cutting yourself.
James Button says, morality from authority is extremely prone to narcissistic manipulation.
Right? Oh my goodness, that's definitely learned that working in the church. Actually, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna get some water. My throat is getting dry.
James Rutten says, it will never not be ironic that Jesus preached morality from empathy, not authority.
Okie doke. I'm back. Oh. Oh, man. Do not get me started on Jesus. So, I have a degree in church stuff, and I am not a Christian anymore, but I really like Jesus. There's a fantastic book called Binding the Strong Man, which is a political reading of Mark, and that was actually one of the books that really kind of solidified me as a leftist. What did I place as? Oh good, okay, I got silver. That's I needed to place. But yeah, so if you look at Jesus's core teaching in Matthew 5, I want to say, it's the one where he's asked what's the greatest commandment. And he says that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Against this there is no law, and all the law and the prophets hang on this. When he says all the law and the prophets, he means the Torah, the Ketuvim, and the Nehavim, which is the Old Testament. So he's kind of saying, like, he's boiling Judaism, which Jesus was a Jew. He's boiling Judaism, in his perspective, down to two things: love God, love your neighbor. And I wish more people loved their neighbors. But and so that was, for a long time when I was a Christian, I built my ethical framework around that. You know, I had a strong allegiance to God, and I had a strong... Actually, I'm gonna go... I need to get peach coins and stuff now, so... free roam. And honestly, like, life is better when your ethical framework is really just like, be kind to other people, care about what happens to them, because when you pull that off, you get to be nicer to other people.
James Rutten says, actually took the words to heart and constructed a moral framework around empathy.
Yeah, it's like, people often will say, like, do to others as you would have them do to you, which, I mean, it doesn't work if you would like people to be an asshole to you. So you instead position it as, like, consider how your actions will affect people, and...
James Rutten says, and it made you resilient to manipulation by church leadership.
Oh, very, very much, and church leadership did not appreciate that. It was, there definitely was more of a want for me to simply do as I didn't do that well. Can I retry? Sweet. Yeah, well, oh man, I talk about not understanding what was expected of me in social situations all the time. there were definitely times where like somebody would tell me like, oh, well, you need to do this. And I'd be like, wow, but you know, like based on this, like this is much more in line with scriptural teaching. Oh, dang it. Much more in line with, you know, scriptural teaching, and this would be more effective. And so, of course, like when at that point, I was viewing kind of all Christian ministry as, you know, doing the work of the kingdom of God. And so it was what would help more people understand that God loved them and kind of help them.
James Rutten says, live in a Christ-like fashion. No, not like that.
Exactly. There was, I was just like, well, I mean, this would be better for people. Like this would, like for a long time, I was not comfortable with abortion because, you know, I was raised in the evangelical church, and so I thought of it as bad. Eventually, I kind of turned a corner, and I was like, you know what? Even if it is not the most moral thing, like, what's the alternative? Having somebody who doesn't want to be a mother forced to be a mother? Do I think that she's going to be a good mother to that person? And then also, like, what's the downside if the baby does have a soul and you're ending its life, and then it goes straight to Jesus? So like, isn't that a win? But so I kind of came at it, well, if you don't want people to, you know, have abortions, which again, like my understanding is that it's not a comfortable medical procedure, so like ideally there's still lots of reasons why people would want to not have that as their first option. But anyway, so, but I still kind of thought, well, like,
James Rutten says is forced birth moral without guaranteed support for that mother and child?
well, exactly. And so there was one program that when I was running kids ministries at a church, and I'd already kind of turned the corner on abortion, but I'd still already had this conviction of like, rather than continuing to like use women as a political wedge issue, why not actually create an environment where women can get more support for things like like childcare and things like that. So I suggested that, man, they really want me to try and hit this guy. Oh, hey, I did it. I beat a challenge. So I was thinking, like, have a thing for a couple times a week where retired people in the congregation
James Rutten says, you can't be pro-life and also not be in support of birth control and socialized child care.
Exactly. And so what I'd suggested, and also like I was thinking about this as a community building thing too, because, you know, in any church, if a woman shows up with like a young kid who's like pre-verbal and stuff, everybody wants to hold the baby, everybody wants to sniff its head for some reason. So I thought it would be good both for people in the congregation as well as for parents if there was, you know, a time, a couple times a week, where people in the community who had kids could bring them and just spend some time, like, letting kids play with each other, and then also, like, and, like, do it in a big room so, like, nobody's left alone with a kid because you don't want to make it. Why do I keep doing the same track over and over again? I need to get out of this area. Like, in a fairly, like, accountable place where, like, you're not leaving open easy room for, like, an abuser to come in, but just have a space where parents with young kids could come, and then somebody else
James
would.
Rutten says, babies smell good, like human puppies. It's weird to smell someone else's though.
Right. And so the idea was just that, like, people could come, they could bring their kid. We could also, like, accept donations of things like diapers and stuff like that. And it would just be a great way to care for people in the community. Also, this church that I was working at the time had a problem where a lot of churches in this denomination had the problem of they'd been uppity assholes to their kids, and so their kids hadn't hung around. What is? Oh, this is food. And so they really wanted for there to be more younger families in the church and things like that. And so I was like, well, a great way to get younger families to be part of the church is to have people in... Oh, hey, there's a P-switch. Seek peace by climbing the falls. What? Okay, I gotta do that again. But yeah, it basically would have just been a resource, time and place for older people in the church who were like now retired and enjoyed working with kids and new moms to work with young families and be a resource and provide mentorship and stuff like that. And everyone that I talked to about it thought it was a great idea, but the senior minister did not really love a lot of my ideas because they weren't hers. And I wasn't there long enough to get that off the ground anyway, but yeah, it was I had a bunch of plans when I was in that job, because basically when I got hired, they were like, yeah, we're really wanting to like work with our local community better. And so I had a bunch of community building ideas. And some people, oh, I gotta try that again. Some people in the church really loved my ideas, and they wanted to support them, and other people just really wanted to have everything go exactly the way that it had before. Oh, dang it. Let's practice the other ones. Oh, wow, this is going to be hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this one. I'm not that good at this game. Oh, you know what? I can probably ride the rails. Yeah, okay. And then... Nope. But yeah, so basically my strategy at that church had basically been like, hey, we're gonna accomplish your goals by helping you learn. Yeah, so, but the strategy was gonna be like, we'll help you learn, or like bring in people by teaching you how to meet the needs of your community. And some people really like that because they were aware that it would have worked. But then a lot of people just really wanted to keep doing what they had been doing that wasn't working. But they wanted me to pretend like their bad ideas would work. But yeah, a lot of people in church stuff, there's generally a really strong desire to be able to keep doing a bad job and then not have any... Oh, that wasn't...
James Rotner says sorry there was more but it didn't text to speech it. Closer and more interconnected community.
Right, yeah. So, like, a big part of church work is, like, just understanding how communities work, how they thrive, and in a lot of cases, if you can give people what they need when they are in need, they're gonna be super willing to help out when... How was I supposed to get that one? Okay. They're going to be able to help other people, but if all that you want is people who are already kind of worn out and having trouble with life to join up and then help you keep the lights on in your building, that's not a real strategy for... Oh, dang it. I got that one time. But, I mean, also, though, you gotta keep in mind, like, most people in church work, like, the people who want to be in charge, even if they're not necessarily...
James Rotner says like the communists and microcosm within greater society.
Exactly. A lot of people always tend to think that things should work really well when they need help. But they don't want to, in any way, do something that would help someone else. Like, they've got other things to do. And a lot of people, I don't think, realize just how much better helping people tends to make you feel. Like, helping people feels good.
James Rutton says gotta give if you want to take though.
You would think people would understand that, but they don't. They just prefer... Okay, I gotta... Wait. Oh. Retry. So many people just want everything to work for them. They don't want to help other people who need help. But they're very upset when no one helps them. And it's kind of like, yeah, if you're gonna get help,
they want the advantage, not the responsibility.
Right, and there's a certain amount of responsibility that everyone needs to be willing to take in a healthy, functional society. Otherwise, things don't work. Well, I wonder if there's like a pinpointer around here. Ah, there we go. Oh, let's back up. There we go. I will say, controlling this game is... There we go. They like to put those coins in behind those things. I need to start. Because I need to find a lot of those too. I think. Well, I don't know about a lot of them. I need to find some. I like how this is kind of like the Breath of the Wild of Mario Kart. Ooh, I have a target. I didn't get an
James
achievement.
Rutton says, This game seems like it is ADHD friendly, lots to explore and collect.
Yeah, well, I feel like when Nintendo started developing stuff for the Switch, or I think Breath of the Wild was really the big turning point for Nintendo in terms of, so because they were doing the Switch as a handheld system, they already understood that it was a good idea to they wanted to have a lot of challenges and dungeons and whatnot be things that you could beat in one sitting of handheld gaming. So whereas previously a lot of games have had very large dungeons and things like that that required like hours to finish and whatnot, they wanted the games to work on a system that might be pulled out on a bus ride. There we go. Dang it. There we go. You got a peach medallion. I know. I just got it. I don't like the yellow Yoshi. Maybe it's because I don't really like sushi. But, yeah, so with Breath of the Wild, you have 4 big dungeons, but for the most part, a big chunk of the game is spent in the shrines, which were all of these like little mini puzzle dungeons. And then beyond that, there was this big open world that you could explore. So there was lots that you could do if you wanted to just sit down and play for hours and hours and hours. But there were also like lots of just little bite-sized pieces of gameplay intended for a system that they knew would be handheld. And then you also saw that same design philosophy appear in Mario Odyssey, where previous Mario titles had, like, Mario 64, I think, was it like 120?
James Martin says, Paradigm shift to freedom. I thought it did, but really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for stopping by. Anybody else still watching? Well, I think I might wrap up the live because it's been 2 hours and my voice is a little scratchy, but it was nice to play again. Yeah, and Yellow Yoshi again. We're gonna wrap up. Okay. Well, goodbye everyone. I hope, if anyone was still watching, that you enjoyed it. Actually, here, wait. Does this show me how many people? I don't think it does. Oh, hi Jonathan. You just joined right as I was about to wrap things up, which explains why Yoshi.
Jonathan says, you running into a wall.
Yeah, well, I was just about to turn the stream off since nobody was saying anything and whatnot. But hey, if you want to talk for a little bit while I play video games, that's cool. How are you doing?
Jonathan says, good night, Golden, leaving now.
Okay. Oh, yeah, no, I am going to turn off the